Good morning, students. In the regular classes, we are discussing about alkenes. And in that alkenes, we completed the general characteristics and the methods of preparations. Now, from onwards, we will continue with the regular classes, that is, alkenes. After the methods of preparations, we will deal with physical properties and the chemical properties of alkenes also. Now, first we will come to the physical properties of alkenes. Physical properties. In this one, the first point is the alkenes up to C4. That means the alkene containing C4. Number of carbons are 4. These are generally in gaseous state. That means their physical state is gas. And from C5 to C17, these alkenes are generally liquids. And above C17 onwards, these are solids. It is regarding their physical state. Okay, right. Now coming to the next part of this one, all these alkenes are colorless. All these alkenes are colorless, and except ethene, all are orderless. All are orderless. This is generally regarding their physical properties. Now coming to the next physical property which we'll discuss about, it is regarding their boiling point. Okay. Now, boiling point increases if we increase the carbon content. Boiling point increases if we increase the carbon content. That means as the number of carbons in the alkenes increases, their boiling point also increases. Now here for every CH2 group, the boiling point increases. By 20 degrees to 30 degrees. 20 degrees to 30 degrees. Now, come to the next one. If you compare alkenes and alkanes, the boiling point of alkenes is slightly greater than the boiling point of alkanes with same number of carbon atoms. The reason is alkene contains one pi bond which is polar in nature, or else in other words we can say alkenes are slightly polar than alkanes due to presence of the pi bond. Now regarding this boiling point, students, there is one information, very important info, and questions are present here. Right. Now we will compare boiling point and melting point here. Boiling point. Next we will take here melting point also. Right. If you take the you take cis and trans isomers. Right. Now we will discuss about these two. If you take a cis and trans isomer, what are cis and trans isomers? These are nothing but the geometrical isomers. If two similar groups are present on the same side, we call it as cis. If two similar groups are present on the opposite side of the double bonded carbon, you call it as trans. Just I give an example here. See, the name of this particular compound is 2-butene, and this is the cis form of 2-butene. And if you take the trans 2-butene, the structure is CH3 This is the cis form of 2-butene and this is the trans form of 2-butene. Okay, students. Two identical groups are present on the same side of the double bonded carbon. Cis identical groups are present on the opposite side of the double bonded carbon. It is trans. Now coming to boiling point comparison between cis and trans isomers. In this one, if you come to the boiling point, the cis isomer is having higher boiling point when compared to what is called it as trans isomer. The reason is cis isomer is more polar when compared to trans isomer, more polar than trans isomer, right? This is one important point here. Now come to the melting point comparison. Among cis and trans isomer, cis isomer melting point is less than the trans isomer. Okay, students. Now if you observe these two structures, among these two structures, which structure is more symmetrical? Means the trans is more symmetrical when compared to what you call it as cis. That is, the trans isomer due to more symmetrical or high symmetrical trans form, it fits into the crystal lattice, students. Okay, see, once you check these 2 points, that is regarding boiling points and melting point, just once you have a glance at this one, here it is crystal lattice. Yes, is it finished? Right? Now we'll come to the next one. It is regarding their solubilities. Solubilities. Now coming here, if you compare alkanes and if you compare with alkenes, okay, alkanes and alkenes, among these two, alkenes are, this you write here, alkanes are non-polar in nature. Non-polar in the sense, there is no electronegativity difference. That means there is no partial positive and partial negative. Now, if you come to alkenes are slightly polar. Just now we explained this term. Alkenes are slightly polar due to presence of that weak pi bond which is present. Therefore, if you compare the solubility in non-polar solvents, if you compare the solubility, alkanes are more soluble. Alkanes are more soluble than alkenes and alkynes. In non-polar solvents. What are the examples of non-polar solvents? You can take example as carbon tetrachloride. Next one, it is benzene, etc. These are all called as non-polar solvents because alkanes are non-polar in nature. They are readily soluble in these non-polar solvents because we know one thing, that is like dissolves like. Okay, just this is regarding the solubility, students. Right, now come to the next one. It is regarding their chemical properties. Okay, chemical properties. From here onwards, it becomes more and more important, that is chemical properties. In these chemical properties, students, first we'll compare with alkanes. Alkanes generally undergo which type of reactions, and why alkenes undergo the other type of reactions. That means, if you take generally in alkanes, these are saturated, therefore they undergo substitution reactions. Whereas if you take alkenes, these are unsaturated compounds, therefore they undergo addition reactions. And in this addition reactions also, which type of addition reaction they undergo? Either electrophilic addition or nucleophilic addition. Now let us see here. Our present discussion is alkenes. We already completed alkanes. Okay, right. Now, in these addition reactions, students, first I will draw the structure of one. Let us say this is one alkene, that is, this is one sigma bond which is present, and here let us say this is our pi bond, right? Sigma bond is strong, pi bond it is weak, and in this pi bond the pi electrons are loosely held and easily polarizable. These are loosely held and they are easily polarizable. Okay, right. Now what is the meaning of this polarizable, students? Now for example, in presence of attacking species or any attacking agent, let us say this is our attacking agent. In presence of this attacking agent, what happens is, this pi bond which is loose, pi electrons are there. This total pi electrons, either they may shift towards this carbon or towards this carbon. Let us say that this is our sigma bond which is not broken. In presence of this attacking agent, I am writing this pi electrons which are present, they are shifted towards this carbon. When these are shifted towards this carbon is having excess of electron density, therefore I write their negative charge. And on this carbon I write what is the charge? Positive charge, deficiency of electron. Okay students, understood? This we call it as, because on these two carbons I am getting one positive and one negative charge. Therefore, these alkenes are slightly polar, or pi electrons are easily polarizable. Okay, right. Now coming to the next point, students. If you take any addition reaction, this one pi bond is broken. In addition reactions, what is happening here? Pi bond is broken. And two sigma bonds are formed. Okay, right. Now how this pi bond is broken down and what is the reactions in this one, we will see here. Now if you take this C double bond C, sigma bond, pi bond is nothing but weakly held pi electrons. Due to presence of these pi electrons, weakly held pi electrons act as electron density. Electron density means it is having some excess of electrons which can be easily given. Therefore, due to this electron density, these alkenes act as nucleophiles. Nucleophiles means the species which contain excess of electron density. Therefore, when it is acting as a nucleophile, now here which compound will attack? the attacking reagents generally are electrophiles and nucleophiles. That means if you break, we will see that. Now among electrophile and nucleophile, here this is acting as a nucleophile. Now among these two species, which one will act? Which one will attack this nucleophile? No doubt it is nothing but electrophile will attack a nucleophile. That means what we mean to say is, here these alkenes generally undergo which type of reactions? Electrophilic addition reactions. Electrophilic addition reaction. This is one of the most important points. Alkenes generally undergo electrophilic addition reactions because alkenes, they themselves act as a nucleophile. Now coming to the next one, it is, if you take this pi bond, students, this pi bond can break in two ways. We know that bond can break in two ways. One is homolytic fission and the next one it is heterolytic fission. If I take this pi bond can break in two ways, that is homolytically, and the next one it is heterolytically. Homolytically means equal sharing of electrons, heterolytically means unequal sharing of electrons. Upon homolytic cleavage, what are the products which are formed here? Free radicals. Upon heterolytic cleavage, what are the products which are formed here? Ions. Now, when the pi bond is cleaved homolytically, that means if you take one pi bond, here this is our alkene. When it is broken homolytically, then here our pi bond, this is one free radical, this is one free radical. If you take the same, this will be one positive charge and here there will be one negative charge. Okay. Now, when it is breaking homolytically, this particular addition reaction proceeds by free radical mechanism. And when it is breaking heterolytically, the mechanism operated in this one, we call it as ionic mechanism. Generally, this ionic mechanism takes place at low temperature, and this free radical mechanism generally takes place at a high temperature or in presence of what we call the sunlight, that is Hν. Okay, students, right. Now, our main focus will be on this ionic mechanism. Generally, this ionic mechanism which is there, it proceeds in 3 steps. Okay, we will see that 3 steps also. Right. Okay, students. Now, ionic mechanism. This ionic mechanism generally proceeds in how many steps? 3 steps. Okay. In the step 1, I am taking the reagent. That means this reagent has to attack. Our alkene is the substrate. And I am taking one reagent. Reagent means, for example, it consists of both electrophilic part and nucleophilic part. This electrophil and nucleophil E plus and Nu minus. That means generation of electrophile is taking place in the first step. And the second step, if you observe, the electrophile which is generated in presence of this attacking electrophile, polarization of this pi bond takes place. And see here, this is one of the most important steps. Let us say positive, this bond is moving towards this side. Therefore, this will get negative charge and this carbon bears positive charge. And the electrophile will attack at which carbon? This is our electrophile. That means what is that which is generated here? Carbon bearing positive charge is generated after the attack of electrophile. That means, now can I rub this negative charge? Yes, because electrophile is already added there. Now, okay, students. it is carbocation is formed. Carbocation is generated or formed. Now, coming to the third one, the carbocation which is generated in presence of nucleophile, you will get the final product. That is, here you have your nucleophile and electrophile. Okay. Now, sir, you may ask a question. Sir, here both nucleophile and electrophile are added, but you said that this undergoes, that is, alkenes undergoes only electrophilic addition reaction. The reason is, first electrophile is initiating this addition reaction. Therefore, we call it as electrophilic addition reaction. Okay, no doubt afterwards nucleophile has to be added. And in this case, one pi bond is broken here. And how many sigma bonds are formed, students? 2 sigma bonds are formed. One pi bond is broken and 2 sigma bonds are formed. Okay, this is the mechanism. Once you have a glance at this one, it is generation of electrophile. Next one, generation of carbocation or else attack of electrophile. And next one, it is attack of nucleophile. Okay, students, right? These are the 3 steps. Now, we will come to the next part of this one. That is, we will see some examples of this electrophilic addition reaction. Right. The first one in this, it is hydrogenation. Hydrogenation, in the name itself, it is there, addition of hydrogen. Addition of hydrogen. Okay. Now, first we will take one example and we will explain this hydrogenation. First, we will take here the first member of this alkane group, that is ethene. Ethene, in presence of transition elements like platinum, palladium and nickel, if these transition elements are finely powdered, the hydrogenation will be more effective. Okay. Alkane, in presence of hydrogen and these transition elements, that is, which act as a catalyst here, the pi bond is broken and 2 sigma bonds are formed. And this hydrogenation reaction which is there, it is exothermic in nature. That means some amount of heat energy is liberated. Okay. This particular hydrogenation or this heat which is liberated, which we call it as heat of hydrogenation. Heat of hydrogenation. Now, what is the meaning of this heat of hydrogenation? Means, when 1 mole of alkene, subjected to hydrogenation, the amount of heat energy liberated, you call it as heat of hydrogenation. Remember, it should be only 1 mole. Okay. Now, what is the priority or what is the prominence of this heat of hydrogenation? Basing upon this heat of hydrogenation, we can explain the relative stabilities of the alkenes. Okay. By comparing the heats of hydrogenation of 2 alkenes, we can say which one is more stable. Okay, we will come across that one. Now come to the next one. The hydrogenation reaction which is there, we can use other type of catalysts also. What are the other type of catalysts which we can use is PtO2. Okay, this particular catalyst we call it as Adams catalyst. It is Adams catalyst, students, PtO2. And next one more important catalyst it is there. It is Wilkinson's catalyst. Wilkinson's catalyst. The formula of the Wilkinson's catalyst is RHCl PH3 taken thrice. Wilkinson's catalyst, and the name of this one, it is PH means phenyl, and how many times it is there? 3 times. That is triphenyl phosphine. It is triphenyl phosphine rhodium chloride, triphenyl phosphine rhodium chloride, the name of this Wilkinson's catalyst. Okay. Now, here these are the two catalysts which will reduce these two reduce double bond to single bond. That means double bond is reduced to single bond. That means reduction is nothing but addition of hydrogen. Hydrogen in presence of PtO2 or in presence of this Wilkinson's catalyst, you will get what is that? Alkane. Okay, right. Now the third type, call it as Bach reduction. This is the reduction using sodium in liquid ammonia and ETOH means ethanol, C2H5OH or ethyl alcohol, or you can use MEOH, that is methyl alcohol. Not only sodium, you can use potassium in liquid ammonia and ETOH or MEOH. These two, out of this, all the everything is common except the sodium or potassium. That means you can use either sodium or potassium in liquid ammonia in presence of what you call the alcohols. Okay. Now, if you use these reagents, then this particular reaction you call it as what is that? Bach reduction. And in this Bach reduction, what is the use of this catalyst means they reduce this double bond to single bonds and we can say reduce terminal double bonds to single bonds, that is alkanes to alkanes, and triple bond to double bond. Okay students, triple bond is also reduced to double bond, and here the alkene which is formed, it is a trans isomer. It is a trans isomer which is formed. Listen carefully. Okay. If you use sodium in liquid ammonia in presence of alcohol, it reduces double bond to single bond. Reduces double bond to single bond in the sense alkenes are converted to alkanes and alkynes are converted to alkenes, and in this case alkene which is formed, it is the trans alkene, and the trans alkene is formed due to anti-addition. Anti-addition means opposite addition. Okay, right. Now once you have a glance at this one, then we will go for the next one. Right students, now come to the next two reagents which are present, which can also reduce this double bond to single bond, that is alkenes to alkanes. Okay, the third reagent which we NaBH4 plus AlCl3 in diglyme. This is a solvent. This diglyme is nothing but it is a solvent. Again, what is the work of this reagent is it reduces alkenes to alkanes, that is double bond is reduced to single bond. Not only that, it reduces esters to alcohols. Esters to alcohols. Now coming to the fourth one, if you take sodium borohydride, NaBH4, it is sodium borohydride, platinum chloride. This also reduces double bond to single bond. Not only that, if aldehyde or keto group is present, then they will reduce it to alcohol. reduced to alcohol. Okay, students, these are all reduction. That means we are adding hydrogen in presence of these catalysts, right? We are adding hydrogen in presence of these catalysts. Therefore, these particular functional groups, these are reduced to these functional groups. Okay, right. Now coming to next, fifth one, it is cyclohexene. Cyclohexene. If you take this cyclohexene, let us say this is our cyclohexene. This cyclohexene reduces alkenes and itself get converted to benzene. What is the molecular formula of the benzene? It is C6H6. How many pi bonds are extra here? 2 pi bonds. Therefore, how many hydrogens we have to remove from this one? 4 hydrogens. 4 hydrogens means how many pi bonds should be there? 2 pi bonds should be there. Therefore, I will take here 2 moles of alkane plus here what is the product form? 2 moles of alkane, that is ethane. Remember one thing, in this cyclohexane which is there, it gets converted to what you call it as benzene. Understood? Cyclohexane, it reduces, okay, double bond to single bond and itself gets oxidized to benzene. These are some of the different agents which we can use to reduce alkenes to alkanes. Apart from that, some other reagents, that means if you take these reagents, these two reagents, not only reducing double to single bond, they can also perform other reductions, that is esters to alcohols and aldehydes to ketones. Okay, right. Now we will see some other things regarding this hydrogenation. While discussing about the addition reaction, I explained that addition of hydrogen or this addition of hydrogen is a exothermic. Some amount of heat energy is liberated, and that heat energy liberated, when we take 1 mole of alkene, I said that we call it as heat of hydrogenation. Okay, right. Now basing upon that heat of hydrogenation, we also included one more point, that we can explain the relative stabilities of alkanes. How we can explain the relative stabilities of alkanes? Okay, right. Stability basing on heat of hydrogenation, and there is one more factor on which we can explain the stability, that is heat of combustion also. Heat of combustion, right? I am not discussing the difference, remember. I am not discussing the differences here. Just I am explaining the stability basing upon heat of hydrogenation as well as heat of combustion. Okay, stability of what? Our present topic is alkene, right? Now, come here. If you take one cis isomer, let us say this is our double bond C, this is CH3H. Okay, generally it is bond line diagram R. Okay, now heat of hydrogenation means plus hydrogen, therefore what will be the product formed here? CH3, CH2, CH2 and CH3. This is the product formed, that is butane is formed over there. Okay, butane is formed, right? Now is going somewhere into that part also, plus hydrogen, right here butane. How can you write the butane in the bond line diagram, which I have already seen in the classes? CH2, CH3. Okay, plus some amount of heat energy is liberated. What is the heat energy liberated? I write in terms of delta H, therefore it is minus 120 kilojoule per mole. Minus 120 kilojoule per mole. Now come to the trans isomer. This is our trans isomer, students. It is CH3 hydrogen trans plus H2. Again here the product formed is CH3. Here the delta H value is 115 kilojoule per mole. Now when cis isomer, the energy liberated is minus 120. In this case the energy liberated is minus 115. Right. You will keep it aside. We will come back. Now we will take examples of this heat of combustion. Once again I am saying I am not writing the differences. Remember, we are explaining stabilities basing upon heat of hydrogenation and combustion. Stabilities between which one? This is our cis isomer and this is our trans isomer. Between these two. Okay. Right. Now I will take the same examples here. If I am taking one cis CH3 combustion. Combustion means burning a particular substance in sufficient supply of oxygen. You call it as combustion. Therefore here I will take 6 moles of oxygen. Here 4 carbons are there. Therefore 4 moles of CO2 plus 6 moles of water. And combustion is always exothermic in nature. Therefore the delta H liberated is some minus 2715 kilojoule per mole. 2715 kilojoule per mole. Now this is the cis form, and come to the trans form here. Trans CH3. These are 2 hydrogens. Again, number of carbons are 4, therefore this doesn't change. 4 CO2 plus 6 moles of water, and delta H equals to minus 2710. It is kilojoule per mole. Once you check the equations, students, right? Now, what is the thing which you observe commonly? What is the thing which you observe commonly? Once you check. In this case, delta H heat hydrogenation. You keep here HC, that is combustion. The first one, that is cis isomer, it is liberating minus 120, that is more energy. In this case it is liberating less energy. In this case it is liberating more. It is 2710, students, just 2705. Okay. Now in both the cases if you observe, okay, the transform which is there, it is liberating least amount of energy, whereas cis form which is there, it is liberating some 5 units high amount of energy, that is 5 kilojoule per mole. Okay. Now you can give one statement here. What is that? More negative the heat liberated, the least stable is the alkene. More negative the heat liberated, the least stable is the alkene. Now among these cis and trans forms in heat of hydrogenation, when we compare only these two, 1 and 2, which one is liberating more? This one. Therefore which one is our highly stable? This is. Okay. That is, the cis is least stable. Okay. And this is highly stable. In this case also, Which one is liberating less amount of energy? This one. Therefore, it is stable. Okay, or it is a little stable when compared to cis. We cannot say it as unstable, but upon comparing these two, transform is highly stable when compared to cis. Okay, students, remember the one which liberates least amount of energy is more stable than the other one. Okay, right. Now, after this stability, we will go to the next reaction, that is addition of halogens. The second reaction, it is addition of halogens. In this addition of halogens, students, we know that there are 4 halogens present, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and next it is iodine, and one more astatine is there. It is a radioactive. Therefore, generally we don't study regarding this with these normal halogens. Okay, right. Now, when you take these halogens, when you react, that means addition of halogens, addition of fluorine, it is highly explosive in nature. This addition is highly explosive. Now come to addition of iodine. It is very slow in nature. Therefore, we can do addition to the double bond comfortably with chlorine and bromine. Okay. At ordinary temperatures, we can comfortably do this reaction. Now, here if you take bromine, you know that bromine, it is a reddish brown colored gas. Now, if I take here bromine, that is CH2 double bond CH2 plus I am taking here bromine. Bromine in presence of some inert solvent, that is carbon tetrachloride. Here the product formed is CH2 and one side bromine and the other side bromine. When 2 halogens are present on the adjacent carbons, you call them as vicinal dihalides. That means addition of halogens to this double bond gives us vicinal dihalides. Okay, right. Now, if the halogens are present on the same carbon, you call them as geminal dihalides. Right. Now, what is the color? Just now we said that it is reddish brown in color. Okay. Now, after the addition of bromine to this alkene, formation of vicinal dihalide. Here, the color of bromine gets decolorized. Otherwise, you can say reddish brown color gets decolorized. Okay, students, right. Now, I have given 2 test tubes, let us say that this is one test tube, this is one more test tube. In these 2 test tubes, in one test tube alkane is there, in the other test tube alkene is there. Okay, I don't know in which test tube alkane and in which test tube alkene is present. To detect out of these 2 test tubes which one alkane and alkene are present means, what I will do is I will add bromine in carbon tetrachloride. It is a reddish brown colored gas, reddish brown color. Therefore, I add the bromine carbon tetrachloride in both these test tubes. Okay. After adding, the test tube which contains alkenes undergoes this addition reactions. Therefore, the color of bromine gets decolorized. While alkanes doesn't give this test. Therefore, the color doesn't get decolorized. That means the test tube which is reddish brown in color, it contains alkanes, and the test tube in which it gets decolorized contains alkenes. That means this addition of bromine carbon tetrachloride, that is in presence of inert solvent, it is a test for unsaturation. It is a test for unsaturation, students. Okay, right. Now come to the other things which we can see in this addition of halogens for objective point of view. Generally, this addition reaction which is there proceeds by cyclic. The intermediate which is formed here is cyclic bromonium ion. It is cyclic bromonium ion. The structure of this cyclic bromonium ion is this one, Br plus. Now what are the other things we can see is, if I take the alkene CH2 double bond CH2 plus bromine in presence of aqueous NaCl. Aqueous NaCl means NaCl dissolved in water. What are the different types of the products which can be formed here? Here CH2. You can take the first product, this as Br, vicinal dihalide. In the second case, Br CH2 chlorine. Where from this chlorine is coming means from this NaCl, that is aqueous NaCl, we get one chlorine plus CH2, it is OH. Where from that OH means, you know that it is from the aqueous, that is water. These are the three possible products which are formed when ethylene reacts with bromine in aqueous NaCl, students. Okay. Now, there is one more variation, that means one more example. I take here CH double bond CH2 plus ICl is there. ICl, iodine and chlorine. This ICl, it is also called as an interhalogen compound. What is the meaning of this interhalogen? Means when halogens react among themselves, two different halogens react among themselves, you call them as, the product formed, you call it as interhalogen compounds. Now here in this case, see, CH3, CH, there is one CH2. There are two possibilities, students, positive charge, negative charge, and here CH2, there may be negative charge, there may be positive charge. Because the previous examples, whatever we have seen, there is no third carbon which is present, therefore either you write positive to this or positive to that carbon, doesn't vary, because you will get the same name. But when I take here unsymmetrical alkene, okay, if I write positive charge, negative and positive, the names will vary. Why? If I take ICl, here I plus, Cl minus, because chlorine is more electronegative when compared to iodine. Therefore, I plus, generally it gets attached over here, that is I, and chlorine should be added over here. In this case, iodine will be added over here and chlorine will be added over here. But out of these two products, one product will be the major, that means it is the mostly formed product. Okay. Now, which one is the mostly formed product? See here, if I rub this, that is the nucleophile, that is Cl minus, it is our nucleophilic part. After the addition of the electrophile, okay, this is after the addition of electrophile, the carbocation formed here, it is secondary carbocation, and the carbocation formed here, it is primary carbocation. Among these two, which one is more stable, students? Secondary carbocation is more stable, therefore which one will be readily formed? Secondary carbocation will be readily formed. Therefore, this is our product. Now the chlorine will be stacking. Right, students? Okay. This is our product. Okay. Right. Now, after this one, we will come to the next one, that is addition of hydrogen halides. Addition of hydrogen halides. That is the third reaction, addition of hydrogen halides. Addition of hydrogen halides, that is HX. What are these HX? It is HF, HCl, HBr and HI. Okay, right. We'll continue this addition of HX in the next class, students. Until then, just you go through whatever the equations we are dealing with. Practice the equations, students. Okay, because these alkanes and the next coming alkynes are very, very, very important, like a basis for the 12th standard organic. Okay, so don't neglect, students. Don't waste your time. Thank you.